All right. We don't have a signature intro, so I'm Dr. Evil.
This is Captain Paul.
And this is Talking Shit Podcast number 35. We've done 35 shows, obviously. We should have probably done more since we started. What was it, 10 months ago? 10?
Yeah,
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we're here at number 35. And, some of the shows I've done alone, some of the shows I've done with you. But I have to say that this project is actually a pretty fun one to do. Number 34 was kind of like a watershed moment for our setup, in my opinion. I think that is probably one of the more fun shows that we've done.
Yeah.
So I want to take the time out to show some gratitude, or put some gratitude in my attitude for Anirudh Garg and Lutch of iDribe, or iDrib, or iDribe. That was a really, really good, and it basically encapsulated everything that you and I want this community to represent. Guys agreeing, disagreeing, showing passion, but showing also the proper respect that is due to everyone on the panel, regardless of how egregious you find someone else's opinion to be. And that's pretty much going to be the theme of the episode today. What were some of the takeaways that you had from episode 34?
Well, honestly, overall, I thought it was a lot of fun. We only planned to do that show for about an hour?
Yeah, and that segment was only supposed to last for about a half an hour.
Yeah, so it went really well. We had a lot of good conversations. I think at times it got a little metal, but I think that also happens when you have so many people on a panel. So there's going to be a lot of things said, and that not everything can get addressed, but it was a lot of fun. I think definitely one of those first times we ever had guests on the show. I'd love to do that more often. And it was a lot of things were said. It was very interesting conversations too. And I think if you haven't watched that podcast, you should definitely do. I want to appreciate Anirudh and Lutch coming out, getting on the podcast, because Evil met up with him, connected with him, and I thought it went pretty well. It was a lot of fun, but I think there is a good conversation that could be gained through that podcast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That not necessarily can be covered in a 4-man panel, a little bit more fleshed out with just me and you.
Right. And, but it was nice to get added perspectives, especially when you're talking about the goings-ons in the UFC. Obviously, you're probably a level below casual as far as being a fan, right?
Yeah.
You're kind of warming up to it. You're kind of getting used to the sport. And then as you get used to the sport, then you have a point of reference to then build your fandom on, right? You can choose which styles of fighters you like, choose which personalities of fighters you like. And then when you start to see the different styles and personalities and you know what to expect, at that point, you can really get into the sport. It's not any different than baseball or basketball or hockey, right? A lot of people don't know a lot about hockey, but once you understand how the game is played, the different styles of the way the game is played, and then the personalities of different players and the teams that they play on, once you start understanding what to expect, then you start to anticipate what happens when one team clashes with another. It's no different in UFC.
And then what I'll say this is this last fight, because I've always, and I've talked about this a little bit, not as much in the recent, probably past few years, but I was more into boxing than MMA. Because that's just something like hockey players, we would go to the gym, box and stuff like that, spar a little bit, obviously with headgear on and stuff. So I followed boxing a little bit more. Not like I ever boxed amateur even. It just was more for the exercise. So that's something I followed. But when you see Ngannou, just a massive man catch another dude's massive man's leg and flip him like that, I'm like, holy fuck. Like, that is incredible. I'm like, I'll be like, I'm not even acting like playing this up. Like, legitimately, that's one of those moments like, holy shit. Because, like, the last few times, I'm not saying there's bad fights or anything like that, but, like, the big heavyweight matches, I was with Gone. It was on the boat. It was Gone and someone else, a bigger dude who wasn't in necessarily the same, definitely not the same shape as Nagano, but
No, you're talking about Derek Lewis.
Derek Lewis. It was an okay fight, but it kind of got boring because it's just Gone was just, you could tell, the way better fighter. Where with this was just such a fun fight to watch. And from what you guys said about, Nagano not having the best wrestling, and then just him flipping him, putting him on the
Nobody
ground.
saw that coming.
Bro, but like, I was hyped. I'm like, damn, this is good. You know what I will say though is that was it the featherweight where it kind of went the distance, where they were kind of like it was the champion from, was it the featherweight?
Yeah, that was flyweight. We're talking about Davison Figueiredo and Brandon Moreno.
That was a fucking good fight. I fucking enjoyed that. Like,
that was their third fight in a row,
bro. I'm just saying, like, first time actually watching them fight like that, I was like, God damn, bro, like, that's some good shit. Like, because I'm not talking shit about all the other UFC fights, but the ones at least I've witnessed this past year with you, like that night was the most fun thus far for me.
Yeah, you missed a lot of really great fights, though.
Yeah,
a lot of times you're on the boat, or you have other family responsibilities and engagement. So, what's up, Xenon? How you doing, man? It's good to see you again.
Thanks for stopping by.
I and that's one of the things I really get excited about when we build this community, because when we do the Filthy Casual, there are going to be a lot of people that don't know anything about MMA.
Yeah.
But once they get to know it, and we will actually get to know each other better through our fandom of these fights. I mean, there's really nothing more pure than close quarter combat. There's really nothing more pure than that. And you get to learn a lot about the people who are involved. You get to learn a lot about the people and how they perceive what's happening. So, I like a certain style of fight. I like a certain character or fighter. And, we had a pretty good debate about that last week, episode 34.
We did.
So, yeah, I found it to be a very, very fun discussion that we had episode 34. And I'm hoping that we get a lot more of things like that. I think that there's so much to gain for everyone. And again, the theme of this show is going to be opposing viewpoints, right?
Yep.
Ideological opposition. Jimmy Dean is here. Well, the sausage is doing sausage things. Okay. So, all right. So we did say that we were going to talk a lot about your journey, or our shared journey, because I'm on the ride with you.
Yep.
Right. We're talking about practice, not a game. We're talking about practice, man.
Yeah, man. Talking about practice. And, it was good. Had another session today with the Evil. And it was a good session. It was mentally challenging, though. It's one of those things that I as a person, and this has always been a personality fault, I get very frustrated very quickly, right? Or,
why? Why do you think that is?
Because I hate failing. I hate fucking looking bad. Like, I can't do anything. It's like with hockey, right? I probably went through like 10 twigs a year, just snapping them in frustrations during the moment of the games. Now, mind you, I'd pay for them because my dad told me go right fuck off after the first one I broke. He's like, stop breaking them, or you're gonna fucking pay for them. And then I didn't learn. I'm young and dumb, but it's just something. I'm one of those people. I do not like doing something poorly, so I get fucking mad. and it's just my first reaction. A lot of times, motherfucker, you know, like, God damn it, and I'll just like, you know, I'll start scratching because I'm just trying to fucking calm down. And you know, that's one of the things that kind of happened today. You know, we were going over an exercise, and there's like, you know, he's telling me exactly how to do it. This is the one thing I'll say about Evil, and I'm actually going to give him with this, is he's actually one of the best. You know, it's been short, but one of the best personal trainers, because a lot of them just won't kind of break it step like, and I'm giving you a compliment with this. They won't break it down step by step. Like, I've had some trainers that I've had for a few times, and it's like they'll tell you what to do, and then it's just like it wasn't as thorough in a way. I'm not trying to bash them, right? But it wasn't as thorough. And the way you kind of go with the logic and the knowledge you have and explaining everything, it's like, oh, okay. Like, you feel it here, here, here. Make sure you activate these muscles, not these muscles. And I guess it was a frustrating day at certain points, because it's like I know exactly what I should be doing, but my body doesn't want to trust me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, you know, subconsciously I don't trust myself. Where it's like, yo, I'm gonna fucking fall over, and I'm like, I'm not gonna fall over. I could do like, stop. God damn it! It was one of those situations. I'm like, I swear to God, I'm not retarded. And I was like, fuck. And he's like, Evil's like, calm down. Like, fucking take a deep breath. Stop scratching yourself. And he's just like, you gotta get your fix. It's like, calm down. But like, it was a calming presence. And, you know, what Evil had to say is very true, right? Like that frustration and that weakness is also one of the reasons that I've elevated into life where I am, because when I get fucking pissed off, I throw all my into something, right? Like, all of it into, like, when I had to get Coastie stuff, I had to study my ass off. But like, at the same token, like, one of your great, like, you know, a strength of like being determined and being like driven could also be a weakness in that. Like, if I get frustrated and I get that negative mindset, I'm defeating myself. And I think especially after we got off the call, after we got off the session, I was like, man, like, really thinking about it, I'm like, I really need to make that a mindset where I can't be so hard on myself at times, to just realize, like, this ain't, like you said, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. Like, I'm fixing patterns and movements from years and years of, you know, neglect. So, and that's something I think for anyone that's trying to get in shape, anyone that's trying to do better in any aspect of life, you need to realize, like, you know, it might not be in like a week or two, it might not even be in a couple months, but if you keep working hard and keep doing things correctly, right, or as correct as you possibly can, things will improve. And to be fair, I felt good towards the end of the session, when I felt like I was starting to finally trust myself. Not completely, right, but I was almost there.
You know, it's funny. The reason why I went on all Allen Iverson with the title of the segment is, you know, I told you that I was going to go do some studying, right? So instead, because you know how I live in one of those luxury apartment buildings with all the amenities and stuff. Well, the building that we have, like, it has like a small like gym area, and then next to it there is a basketball court, right?
Yeah.
So I went down there because I'm trying to help teach my ladies how to get that vertical pull, which will be that lat pull down, the pull up motion, right? So activating the back in a vertical plane, right? And I was like, hey, I'm going to help you guys out with this. You know, you guys squat the way you know how to squat. For the first time in over 5 years, I picked up a basketball. Right? I think it was been way longer than 5 years. And so it was very frustrating, you know, because I can't control the basketball like I used to. I'm not, you know, in my, you know, top physical shape right now. Probably take a couple of weeks, but I'm not at my best right now. And, you know, I couldn't really control the basketball. I could not repeat shooting motions, you know? And it was weird because I've done a lot of strength training since the last time I touched a basketball, right?
Yeah.
So I've been changing my relationship with the basketball. So when I couldn't get the basketball to do what I wanted to do, what happened? I started to get frustrated.
Yeah.
Right. But I had to realize like a lot of the basketball skill that I used to have is rusted over. And now I've changed a lot of the way that my brain and my brainstem and the CNS and the PNS, the central nervous system, the peripheral nervous system. I've changed so much of that in the last several years that there's no way I'm going to be doing the same exact thing that I did years before.
Right.
But I was still frustrated because I could not repeat the jump shot motion. I was off. I didn't feel comfortable. I didn't feel like physically comfortable either.
Yeah.
So I got frustrated, but I had to remind myself, yo, it was the first time I've touched the basketball in years.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm not exempt from it. I'm not exempt from that frustration, but I had to remind myself, hey, if I come out here on the basketball court a couple times a week, I'm going to get acclimated to the ball again. I'm going to get acclimated to the ball in a way where the body that I have today can understand it.
Yeah.
So my jump shot will improve. And the thing is, the more shots I took, the less horrible they looked. Whether they went in or not, they looked less horrible.
Yeah.
Right. So, we can't like get down on ourselves as long as we're putting the effort in. If you're trying to undo years of suboptimal movement patterns, you're not going to get it done in a day.
No.
But
that takes really like, I think, and that's why a lot of people struggle, myself included. Like I would go to the gym, then I'd stop, go to the gym, and I'd stop. I'd lose 30, 40 pounds, get down to like 175, then gain it back. You know what I mean? Like it was a constant cycle because it's like, it's hard to kind of stay in that mindset, right? I feel like until you change your mentality and realizing like, not trying to get frustrated and be like, okay, like this is going to just take time. Whereas sometimes you just get so pissed off, you don't want to do it. It's like, God, I used to be able to do this, or I fucking should be able to do this. And it's like, you just got to give up, right?
Yeah.
You get that negative mindset. It's a cycle. And, that's one thing I like about you. It makes you kind of like, even just the conversations we have like on here and off here, honestly, is that we have some dope conversations. It's just about a lot of it's mentality in life. And, like for me, I've even had like with this podcast, I've had like a nice, like, I would say kind of resurgence. You know what I mean? Like I changed a little bit of my mindset a lot in the aspect that like, I'm like, okay, man, like, maybe things didn't go exactly how we wanted it to go, right? Like immediately, but we're building now, man. We got momentum, and it's just like, with my workouts, man, like I'm excited for my goal in a year, and I'll just say it here on air, like to play hockey at a very competitive level in about a year or so. I'm not saying like the NHL, calm down, but I'm saying like, at a very high end men's league, we're
because if you go to the NHL, I'm raising my rates.
Shit, I'll take you with
on
me.
everybody.
I'll take you with me. If the Rangers, if you're listening, right? If you need a shitty bench warmer, I'm here for you. So I'll bring him along. He's a good personal trainer.
He's a Judas, man. He's a Boston Bruins fan. You can't trust him when you go into Boston. When Boston comes into the Garden. The real Garden, Madison Square Garden.
No.
Okay.
The real Garden is like always going to be the Boston Garden. You know what I mean? Because I was born.
Wait. Is the Boston Garden known as the world's most famous arena?
You know what? What's better, New York or Boston? Because Boston's like, what did Bill Burr say? It's so true. Boston's just like
I don't know if you're talking about pants or trying to get into your car. I mean,
I'm just saying, man. Like Boston's just is a slightly more racist San Francisco. Like, it's just very nice, and it's just, it's a fucking great place to live. But no, like, but diatribe aside, it's just, I think it'd be that's what I'm excited for. Getting back on the ice and competing to a level where I used to play in college, and you know, I'm excited. I want to be like when Evil says he's been in the best physical shape of his life. Like I'm looking for a year from now. I want to be in the best physical shape in my life because, you know, I think this whole COVID thing should wake us all up and, you know, make us try to take better care of ourselves. You know what I mean? And, you know, I'm just excited. So anyone that's working out and trying to grind, man, just try to stay positive. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. It is hard. Like I get fucking very pissed off at myself, but just stay positive. It's one day, one step at a time. And if you keep plugging away at it, man, the good things will happen.
Right. You know, I'll add to that. I'll say, if you can't stay positive, try to remain as neutral as possible. And the reason why is from a neurological standpoint, whenever you kind of get down on yourself, you get a little bit of that stress reaction.
Yeah.
You're sending a danger signal to your brain. And your brain does not differentiate between different grades of danger. It's just safe or unsafe. And what ends up happening is if your body is reading your emotions and they think you're unsafe, it's going to cut off your ability to move. So it's like if you were about to be in some sort of collision, right? You're on the bait, you know, you're chasing a fly ball. The center field is coming in. You're going out from second base, right? What happens to those guys when they get close to each other? They freeze.
Yeah.
Right? That's their muscles going rigid in preparation for a collision to protect oneself. So their ability to move has been inhibited by the brain's natural inclination toward protection overall.
Yeah.
Right? So when you get down on yourself, you're basically saying you're about to collide with the center fielder.
Yeah.
Right. And it's either, and when they get afraid of colliding, who catches the ball?
Nobody.
Exactly.
And that's actually a perfect way of putting at it, man. And it's
You
just
know?
getting over that psychological barrier. You know what I
So
mean?
a lot of it is just understanding that this is not the bar exam that you're preparing for. This is a puzzle in a video game. You're not going to die. Your life's not riding on it. It is something that you're figuring out. And once you figure it out, then you figure something else out in steps, you know? And, you know, when you think about that infamous press conference that Allen Iverson had, his career went downhill from there.
Yeah.
His career went downhill from there. And if you think about how many players in the league have had to reinvent themselves, we think about how legendary Allen Iverson was, right?
Yeah.
But then if you look at Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, they both practiced hard. And I believe in the practice, they realized where they were becoming deficient, and then they had to compensate with other areas of the game.
Yeah.
So when you look at Michael Jordan, when he wasn't dunking on fools like he was before, he probably found out in practice that he couldn't elevate to the same height as quickly as he could before. What did he do? He worked really hard, back to the basket, mid-range jump shot, because they said when Michael Jordan was in college, one of the things that dropped him in the draft or threatened to drop him further in the draft is that they say he did not have a mid-range jump shot. So what did he do? When he could not be high-flying his airness, mid-range jump shot, 20-foot jump shot, more long-range shots, better passing. Same thing with Kobe Bryant. When Kobe Bryant wasn't elevating anymore, he went right into his Michael Jordan bag when Michael Jordan went into the second half of his career.
Yeah.
But Allen Iverson said, we're talking about practice, man. And his career went down real fast.
Yeah, like pretty much when he left the 76ers, and then went to the Nuggets after that.
Came back to the Sixers.
And then came back to the Sixers. Like AI is a legend Hall of Famer, but I do agree. I think if he had a different mindset,
he could have.
We have a completely different.
He might have just retired a couple of years ago, maybe.
Because look, Vince Carter, right? and he's not a Hall of Famer, mind you.
Really?
No,
20 years in the league? He put his nuts in Frederick Weiss's mouth in the Olympics?
I mean,
he's a Hall of Famer off that.
I don't know. Like, maybe he could be a fringe guy, but even regardless of that conversation, I
think he's got a better claim than Tracy McGrady.
I'd agree with you on that. I don't think Tracy belonged in there personally. But anyways, like
some people say that he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, no, I know, but I think with Vince Young, as he reinvented himself.
Vince Carter.
Vince Young. Vince Carter. He reinvented himself later in his career. Because look how long he stuck around, man. Like absolutely, like mind-boggling.
What did he do when he couldn't put his nuts in dudes' mouths anymore?
Developed a shot.
He developed a jump shot. I mean, do you think that happened because he wasn't practicing?
No.
He had to reinvent himself. And as you age, Paul, you're now reinventing yourself, right? But now you have the opportunity to be even better than you used to be because now your skills are going to be on a better foundation of muscle activation, positioning, just better movement habits overall. So when you start to build strength on top of good stability, you might find that in some ways you're better than you used to be in some ways, right? But it's about that practice. Another thing too, man, physical stuff is not the only thing, is not the only area in which we need a lot of practice. Okay. When we're talking about our interpersonal dealings with each other, it takes a lot of practice. I mean, if you look in romantic relationships, people just expect that it's just going to work, right? I cannot tell you how many times I've met women who say, "Oh, I can't date you because I don't feel butterflies." Relationships are things you work at. You don't just wait. Like, do you think Michael Jordan just woke up and he was the best basketball player in the world? Do you think LeBron James woke up and he was just the best basketball player in the world? Do you think that Bill Gates just woke up and had a monopoly at Microsoft? Do you think that Jeff Bezos just woke up and he was an ultra douchey multi-billionaire? No, he had to work at it.
Oh, even his laugh is douchey.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
Even his $250 fucking board shorts, douchey. Okay? So it's, anytime you're talking about anything in this world that's worth anything, you're going to have to work at it. You're going to have to practice. And right now we are living in the most partisan era probably in American history since what? The Civil War?
Yeah, Civil War.
McCarthyism, maybe?
Yeah, I was gonna say McCarthyism's up there. Yeah, but around that, yeah, it's about that level of it.
So, we wanted to ask the questions. Can liberals and conservatives can they be friends? And again, some of you may know, but some of you may not know that Captain Paul and I have been opposed on some ideologies, but when there were some things that just didn't vibe right with his soul, with the people that that basically root for the same color as Captain Paul, and he didn't feel comfortable about it. What did you do when you're like, hey, this doesn't feel quite right? What was the first thing you did?
Shit, I remember thinking about it, and we actually had a phone conversation.
Exactly, but did I call you?
No, I called you.
Exactly. The first thing you did was you called me because you're like, wait a minute, these guys are supposed to be my friends, but this just doesn't feel morally right. It didn't sit right in your soul.
No, not at all. I think it was one of those things that, I hate to say it, I saw a lot of good friends of mine that I felt like on Facebook would be saying some off-the-cuff shit that if you said to someone in fucking person, you get your ass beat. You know what I mean? Like some really hateful, disgusting type rhetoric. And it was like one of those things that's like, because I've had friends from all different political spectrums. But I think the vitriol, the anger I just see in general, it's like starting then, it made me take a step back where it was like, you know, it was like a battle line was drawn, like a fucking line in the sand was drawn, right? You're either Republican or Democrat. If you're not a Republican and I'm Republican, we don't get I mean, we get along. But if I'm a Republican or you're a Democrat, you're a libtard or whatever. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it's like vice versa. Like some Democrat friends of mine, like if you're a Republican, you're a piece of shit, a conservative KK. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Type thing. And it's just like it was.
Let him eat cake.
Yeah. And it's just like one of those things. It's like, man, like we had really good conversations, especially when what happened. It was something when January 6th actually happened too. We talked, but there was a certain incident that happened with the riot.
Before then, do you remember what it was?
I'm trying to remember off the top of my head.
It was the murder of George Floyd.
That's right. Yep. Thank you. Because I remember there was like people trying to do like some mental gymnastics to make it make sense. And it's like, listen, I'll just give my opinion on it now. I've always had.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if this dude was, just fucking shot someone. You have him on the ground with your knee on his neck, because they tried to have, and it was, what do they have? A coroner try to come up with saying it was drugs that he died, but you see the dude just like knee on the neck. And I'm not discussing history, right? Because that's the one thing both sides do. Oh, well, they did this in their past, or they did this. I'm like, I don't give a fuck.
We need to look at the facts of the case right here and right now.
I don't give a fuck about that, man. I see some dude putting his body weight on another dude's neck. Like, you have him on the ground, bro. Cuff him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, this is someone like me. I have a lot of friends in the military. I have a lot of even some police officer friends. And some agree to my line of thinking. Some others are like, well, you don't know he could have got up. I'm like, bro, like if you are that intimidated by somebody that is completely like neutralized like that, like you're in the wrong line of work, in my opinion. You don't have the testicular fortitude to be in that line of work. You know what I mean? I don't believe in it. And it was like, we had a real discussion. I'm like, dude, like some of the shit that was like said online, like people like, oh, he deserved it, he did this, and I'm like
that was one of the arguments that really pissed me off. Oh, it was a counterfeit $10 bill or whatever it was, and it's like, do you know that the vast majority of Americans have passed counterfeit bills, but they don't know it, because that's the point of a counterfeit bill, is that it's supposed to look as real as possible. Like, that's the point.
It's just it's like, dude, we lost sight, like, we lost
humanity.
Sight of humanity. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, we're just human beings, dude. Like, me and you bleed, right?
Yeah.
Like, people fuck up. Now, listen, like, people make mistakes in life. And, I have a certain opinion with rapists and murderers and stuff. Like, I fucking throw the book out and throw them away, whatever. But there's also people that commit crimes that when
Let's not use the R word as much.
Oh, sorry. But I apologize for that. But there's some people, right, that generally do change their life around after prison. Now, are there some that don't and they always stay on that path? There is. But I'm not going to say that man deserved to die because of what he committed in his past. Even if I do not like his past and it's detestable, right? If I find that, like, fine, you can find that. But in that instance, that was an incorrect way to detain a man. Especially,
what's really funny? A lot of the people that want bad things to happen to him because of something he did in his past and already paid the price for, a lot of these people have a lot of foul things in their past too.
Yep.
But it's easy, to pass judgment on someone else and their shit when we can smell, we have the smell of feces somewhere around us because it's our shit.
It's easy, right, to dehumanize it, right, when it's not you, right, when it's the other side. And that is what I've seen more than anything out of the past few years. See, like, economically, I lean extremely conservative, right?
What do you
Well,
mean extremely?
not extremely, probably somewhat conservatively, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I
So
never really see you as somebody who's like far right.
no. But like economically, I have more conservative policies.
So give me an example of something that you believe in that you think. Uh,
I don't really believe I don't really believe in taxes as much, honestly. I understand certain things are needed to be paid for. I would
mhm.
like to see less tax, a little less taxes. Um, because this is a whole different discussion. I don't want to get completely off topic, but I think the way we allocate our taxes is
I was
kind of
about to go there.
fucked as it is right now. So I don't believe in giving more taxes to a system that I find is broken.
Right. That
So
makes
like
sense.
that's kind of my line. Like if we could completely redo it, right, and like actually put the money where it should be going to, that's a whole different conversation.
You
I
know,
would be.
you're starting to sound like a libtard.
I mean, but that's the thing, right? Because I'm not strictly red or strictly blue.
Exactly.
There's a mix, and I think
Exactly.
like yourself, there's a like a purple, right? Where I think we could, as if we all just took a step back from these party lines, these whatever, these viewpoint lines, just realize we're all human beings. Be like, okay, like let's actually have an honest discussion. Like, how can we improve this country? To be better overall.
Right.
Taxation is theft, Jimmy Dean. You're right. Fuck 'em. But
I think it's theft in the way that it has been implemented. I mean, we've talked in the past about how you see in the Department of Defense will ask for a certain amount of money that's way too much. And then what does the government do? Give them more money than they asked for, while also saying that we don't have enough money for student loan debt relief. We don't have money for healthcare. We don't have money for measures to reduce human suffering. Yeah. We only have money to increase human suffering and death. Yeah. Right. So I think that I think that when you look at where the taxes go, if the taxes actually went to the American people, you could lower taxes and still have a better quality of life. Your infrastructure would be better. Yeah. If we did it that way. And I think that, one of the things that I've kind of figured out over the years is that liberals and conservatives, they agree on many more things than they actually think they do. But we give so much attention to the subjects where people think they are in abject opposition to each other, that they create their basis for enmity on the extreme minority of viewpoints that people differ. And even in that, even in those different viewpoints, the motivation behind the differing viewpoints is the same on both sides.
Yeah. Well, it is kind of interesting, right? Because I will say this regarding this topic about if conservatives, liberals, if we can all be friends.
Can't we all just get along?
The one thing that I will say is that, trust me, I have a ton of conservative friends that wouldn't get along with a liberal just because they're a liberal. And I think that's fucking stupid personally. And vice versa. But I've had admittedly a little bit more blowback with more liberal friends than conservative friends. I don't know if it's because I lean a certain way or like whatever, but more of them have actually completely unfriended me, right? Due to like me saying like, oh, like, I don't know if like, I don't like necessarily Biden's tax plans and stuff like this. And they it's weird. I'll try to have an actual real conversation with them, but then they'll just go with talking points saying, I'm this, I'm that. Like, you're just a big pro-Trumper. I'm like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm trying to have a conversation and then block, right? Like, it's just the blinders are completely on. And,
you know what's really annoying about that for me? Is equating the Republican Party with Trump.
Yeah.
Like the Republican Party existed long before Donald Trump. And one of the funny things is, and I notice I hear this a lot from black men, especially productive black men, is that when they're constantly saying, hey, when you look at the actual values of the black community, they are conservative values, right? Like the media is going to put the rappers and the drug dealers and the strippers, they're going to put those people in your face, but they're the extreme minority. Most black people are socially conservative and economically conservative. Most black people.
Yeah.
It's just that black people are working with a lot less capital because of the fact, systemic racism still is what it is. And, even though there has been progress made, when you have one group of people that has been already so far ahead for so long, and you're talking about families that are able to pass generational wealth down to their children, then you look at the other group and they don't have anything to pass to their children at all. So you've got, one part of the population that starts a bit better than the same, than somebody in the same age group of a different demographic of the population. So, they're starting from lower, so they got to work harder to even sniff half of what you have because you started with a little bit more, right?
Yeah. I know. I can understand.
Right. So, that's built into the system, right? But the thing is that one of the things I just really dislike is when somebody says, I voted for Trump. Oh, you're a racist. Well, do you know why that person voted for Trump? Do you have any clue? Because there is more than just one issue. You may be a single issue voter, but that person's single issue may not be your issue. For example, you have the coal miners in, what was it, Virginia or West Virginia or something like that?
Yeah, both.
Right?
Yeah.
Do you think they voted for Trump because they hate black people? No. Trump said that I'm going to protect your jobs. Yeah. You're going to be able to pay your bills if you vote for me. So I know plenty. I've talked to plenty of people who held the nose like this as they picked Donald Trump at the ballot box. They're like, oh, Trump, right? Yeah, I voted for Trump, but you know what I mean? Jimmy Dean, I got to correct you here. He says no one called Trump racist before 2016. I'm going to correct you here, Jimmy Dean. Nobody knew who Trump was prior to 2013, except people in my city because he operated in our city. Donald Trump has been a known racist for over 4 decades in New York. People have known what his hiring practices have been. People have known what his leasing practices have been for the buildings, for different units that he rents out. Donald Trump has been a known racist for well over 40 years. But the problem is that only people in the New York City area knew who Donald Trump was. Greater America did not really know who he was prior to 2013. And then 2014 is when he started doing that. Was that Apprentice or whatever?
Yeah, the
right?
Apprentice.
So, even Xenon said, I never even knew who Trump was prior to 2016. Nobody knew who the fuck he was. New Yorkers did. There was never a question of his there was never a question of Donald Trump's racial bias. There's never been a question here in New York City.
Well, so this is the thing, and I'm not defending because some of his practices have come out with the apartments and leases and stuff like that.
Yeah.
People in New York.
And then the Central Park 5, he was advocating for their execution back in 1985. But then when they were exonerated 25 years later, he was still calling for their execution after they were exonerated, and it was found out that they did not commit the violation against that woman in Central Park.
So and this is the thing, right? And because people didn't necessarily know because it happened more in New York. Mm-hmm. One of the things I will say regarding that is to get, I get what Jimmy Dean was trying to say, and it's true because you had corporations, or not corporations, organizations like the NCAAP.
Wow, you really know what it is. You don't like black people.
No, oh my god, and
that's really what it is. You only like black people when they're dunking the basketball or scoring the touchdown.
And NAACP, excuse me. And like you've had other like rappers like Jay-Z, you had people co-sign him, right? That, even around that time period, 2013, 2014, that should have, known better, right?
But why do you think the Jays, like the rappers and the athletes that were black,
Because he
why do
makes
you
money.
think they vouch for Donald Trump?
Because he's full of money.
No, because he pledged that under his presidency he would take less of their money in Texas.
No, but I'm saying this regarding around
even David Chappelle. Dave Chappelle. He's very outspoken on race. He was like, "Yo, I might have to be in that Trump pocket because now he's representing me." Because it's not about color; it's about tax bracket at that point, right?
No.
So the thing is that Donald Trump is not the racist president, right? Donald Trump was the pro-rich person's. And if you're a black guy with a lot of money, you're probably going to be a Trumper, not because of racial issues, but you're like, listen, if I go with the other guy, if I sign a contract for $5 million a year, I'm only going to see $2.5 million of that if I go with Biden. But if I go with Trump, I might see 3.75 million out of that 5 million. So I get to keep $1.25 million more with Trump. Hell yeah. Trump is putting money in my pocket.
Yeah.
But does that make him a racist?
No, what I'm saying regarding this is, and I'll just wrap this up, is that around the apprentice times, that's when you saw even people, because he was popular at the time, and you had NAACP giving him awards and blah, 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 all this shit. So that's why I think some people didn't really know, and there's this public perception. Because I've known people in New York for years, like yourself and other, like you find out, and you kind of you can look up articles. There's articles that from the 80s actually even regarding that family's practices. But that being said, kind of going back into the full scope of the conversation is like, it has been difficult to keep friendships with both sides of the aisle for me, because I don't look at one subject, right, and have a blanket answer for like one instance, and it pisses off both sides. Like I've had Republicans be like, "See ya, fuck you, libtard," or I've had liberals say, "Oh, fuck you, you conservative racist," and
that's how you know you're doing it right, when you're pissing off both sides.
Yeah, I know and I get, but it is unfortunate, right? That like you see people that you view as friends, because I don't add people from high school and like, oh my god, like I love you, like no. Like I have a smaller Facebook account where I keep people I actually talk to, and then seeing them get down these rabbit holes of just misinformation and just anger. It's saddening to watch, because these people that your friends used to play like pickup hockey with, baseball, basketball, softball, like fuck, dude, even frisbee golf at one time. That's how white I am. It's just like one of those things that you see all these people that you used to have great times with, and it's because of this divide in the country from both parties, no longer friends with, man. Like there's good friends that like, I had awesome times with, would be willing to go, play some pickup sports and stuff like that. Even just hang out, talk around, watch a movie or something. It's just, I don't know, man. It's sad in a way, because I think as a core of Americans, and a lot of Americans are losing sight that like, yes, like we're different. We look at things differently, but that does not mean we still can't communicate and have some type of friendship. Because how boring would it be, right? How boring would it be if me and you viewed every single issue this exactly the same? One of the things I cherish about me and your friendship, right? We're not always going to agree on everything, but we know we're going to keep it real. I'll learn things from you from a different perspective, because me and you grew up very differently. Like you'll learn things from me, right? Because that's the beauty. We are two different human beings that have different life experiences that we can draw from, that kind of shape our worldview. And it just it gives us an inkling to the other side. And I think, if we get back to being able to talk with one another, we'll realize like, oh, yo, shit, like maybe because they voted that way, they're not like, oh, he's not evil, or he's not a idiot or something. It's just we can get away from the keyboard, get away from the anger, and get face to face and just actually have human interaction. 6 feet apart in most places, but actually have a conversation. I just feel like that's been going the wayside. And I will say this, the one benefit due to this COVID, due to this vitriol, man, is I have met some amazing people, and like some people that actually that friends of mine that are really how true friends of their how true friends they actually are, because we may differ politically, or we may just differ on one certain issue, and it's like, yeah, whatever, like how was the game last night, you know what I mean? Like that's that's the beauty of human beings. We're all different, we're all unique, and I think we need to get back to just being able to talk to one another.
It's funny you say that. One of the things that, I predicted that Trump would win in 2016. And the thing was, anytime I got into a conversation with someone who was pro-woman or pro-black, one of the things that I've noticed in the way that they carry on in conversation is that if you disagree with them at all, you're an ist or an obic.
Yeah.
And I think what that has done is not only does it make people more defensive, but I think that it's one of those things that, you know what an open-ended statement is versus a closed-ended statement? A closed-ended statement shuts off communication. An open-ended statement encourages communication, right? And, one of the things I notice is that on the left side is that they'll say, oh, you voted for Trump. That means you are this, this, and this. And then I have to ask them the question, well, did you ask them what their views are? Did you ask them? No, I know they voted for Trump. Did you ask why they voted for Trump? And, well, I don't need to. Well, you want them to care about your issues, but you don't want to listen to theirs. Oh, but they're white and they have this and they have that. What the fuck do you know what they have? You haven't even talked to them.
Yeah.
Right. And it's the same thing on the right side when I get into conversations with people on the right, and they just assume that because I say that people should not have to live in squalor, then that means that I don't think there should be any rich people. It's like, did you ask? Did you ask what I think about that? Did you ask what kind of system I would like to see put into place? No, you didn't ask because it's easier for you to make a judgment without having to actually do the research, right? Because people want to be able to make their worldview as simple as possible, and anything that challenges that causes them distress. So they don't want to have to ask somebody, what is it that you believe and how far is it that you go with the belief? Because A, it takes too much work. And B, if that person says something different than you expect, then you're going to have to reformulate your worldview. And you want to hold on to that worldview. Yeah. Because it's dear to you. So you would rather just be wrong than be challenged. And I think that gets in the way of a lot of the conversations as well. And it makes it very difficult to vibe with people where I give you an example. A couple of years ago, I matched with this stupid hot girl. Yeah. I mean, she was so fucking hot. It was insane. Okay. I think she was like 3/4 Jewish and like 1/4 Hispanic. I mean, she was so ridiculously hot. It was kind of confusing. Right. And we're vibing, right? But then I said, hey, I believe in so-and-so's right to exist unencumbered. However, I don't believe that they should have the right to decide what other people see and how other people view whatever lifestyle choice or whatever, Oh, I can't talk to you. Can't talk to you. Bye. Not going to talk to you. Right. And it's like, why is it that, I agree with you 97%, but that's just not good enough because you have to get, you have to get your liberal brownie points. You know what I mean? Like, to me, like, you cut off what could have been a really cool situation, right? You cut all of that off because this guy he only agrees with you on 97 out of 100 points.
Yeah.
Right? You're creating an enemy from where one did not exist simply because he doesn't go to the ends of the earth with you on this one specific situation that affects 0.03% of the population.
Yeah. Well,
right?
it's weird, right? That whole philosophy, if you're vibing, right, getting along, pretty much.
Jimmy Dean said that I'm bragging. Yo, Jimmy Dean, I was definitely batting out of my league. Believe me, I did not try to match with her. She tried to match with me, and I reciprocated. I know where my bread is buttered, sausage man. All right. And I was batting way above my batting average.
Yeah, she wanted that British broadcast company. But I'll just say this is that, it is kind of a shame that someone like that, like, you're vibing, getting along, and then just one difference.
Yep.
That changes it. And it's so unique, right? Because I'll use my own relationship as an example.
Mm-hmm.
Me and Laura have completely different viewpoints on certain things.
Mm-hmm.
Some things we actually agree on very strongly. But she's like, she's a quote unquote liberal, right? She voted, she'd vote for Biden. She voted for Clinton. I voted for Trump in 2016. 2020, I'll be honest with you, I voted third party. So just one of those things, man. Like, it's a shame.
You know another thing that I've noticed, and this is a really good example. We're going to pull up Jimmy Dean's comment here. Much of the left's ideology is based on morality, meaning you don't agree on everything. Then some of your thought process is immoral. Therefore, you are immoral. Do you know who else does that? Conservatives.
Yeah, they both do it. Yeah,
right?
They both do it.
When it comes to the unnatural termination of pregnancies, when it comes to their belief in extraterrestrial, deities, when it comes to, why they don't support the toking, right? Why they don't support, certain drug use, why they don't support certain lifestyles, right? It's all based upon whatever they believe is moral. And if you are on the opposite side of that, what do they say? Some of your thought process is immoral, therefore you are immoral. And so that's one of the things that I really wanted to kind of highlight is that there's this thought process that liberals and conservatives are very different. I submit to you that they're very similar. They believe that they are different, but they use the same tactics. They use the same mental gymnastics against each other in the same fashion, and then point out what the other person is doing as wrong, as bad tactics, as they use the same tactics.
Well, the one thing I'll say, because I just saw Jimmy Dean's comment about not all conservatives are Christians, but the Christians are the loudest.
And it more goes to my point. It's the same thing on the left.
So I absolutely agree. Mind you, I am Christian, but I think, how do I put this? I think that they're a vocal, I wouldn't even say minority in that party, because I know pretty much all my conservative buddies are Christian. But, conservatives go by faith and like religion and guns and stuff like that. I'm not saying there's anything inherently wrong with that, but I don't like getting into that near say of like liberals are the only ones and like, oh, like we're the high type. Like both parties do that because each side wants to look like they have that moral high ground. Let's just be honest. Both parties have some negative aspects about themselves that if they were truly honest, right? If there was a truth serum out there, let's just be honest. All these politicians, they just outright say, we don't give a fuck about you, right? We just want what's good for us. And I guess for me, like with this whole, red versus blue argument, my side's greater than your side is we get lost like the average American gets lost into fighting with each other, not realizing and not looking up about some of these like bills and policies that are being passed. You know what I'm trying to say? It's
Mm-hmm.
just, it's baffling in a manner that, we get so angry, right?
Mm-hmm.
We
Mm-hmm.
get so much conflict with one another. We don't even realize what's happening in front of our eyes. And like one of the greatest examples of that is remember the Patriot Act that got passed and people just passed. Oh my God, yes, patriotism, yes, pass it, and like they didn't look into what the fuck it was because
Mm-hmm.
and you know
Mm-hmm.
what?
And that they use charged languages like that on purpose because in the entire democratic process, they don't appeal to your rational brain. They appeal to your irrational brain. They don't
Absolutely.
want you to make whoever the next president is going to be. They don't want you to make an informed decision because then Bernie, whatever would be the president if you actually looked at the policies, both foreign and domestic. The ones that made the most sense came from Bernie Sanders and Jill Stein. The ones that made the most sense when you looked at the alternatives with Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, right? If you looked if you just looked at each single situation, I'll give you an example, right? So when conservatives heard that he said free college for all, right? They said free, that's communism, socialism, right? But and how are you going to pay for it? Well, he said, well, first of all, everybody's paying taxes, but we're not seeing anything back for our taxes. That's number one. Number two, it's very easy. You take a sliver of a percentage of every trade that is made in the stock market, and you'll get all of that money and then some. Like nobody really wanted to examine it. Some people on one side said, oh, free college. Yay. Other people said free college. No. Did you actually look at the policy itself from beginning to end and then see if it would make fiscal sense? And when you looked at it, because each transaction that they would be charging tax on to Wall Street is such a fucking rounding error that those guys would not even notice the money coming out of that because they would still be getting filthy fucking rich.
Well, the problem with Bernie, I didn't always. I'd have to go back and really look at him, but there was a few things I actually had like some really good takes on that I just didn't agree with philosophically with his plans.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll say this. I think I know he says it because that's how he feels. That the democratic socialist, when you say anything socialist, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but most people don't even know what socialism is. Most people don't know what capitalism is. Most people don't know what communism is.
But that's kind of an education error. But what I'm saying is when you label yourself like that, you tend to be.
Wait, I got to tug on that. That's a string that you just left out there. You said that's an education issue.
Yep.
How could you possibly get educated if you're not listening? People aren't listening. They don't want the information.
Fair enough. No, I'll agree. And actually, I know we're kind of going long here, but there's actually just a
it's fine.
Quick conversation I want to have after this. Mm-hmm. But I think for me personally is that when it comes to how he went about his campaign, how he got portrayed in the media wasn't necessarily right. A big buddy of mine was a big Bernie bro. Like I said, I wasn't really into Bernie like that. I was more, what's that libertarian that was running at the time? I forget. Even he was kind of off the wall. So it's like I thought 2016 there wasn't that many great options compared, but so that's
but people said if you voted for the people with the actual best policies, then you wasted your vote because really the only ones you can vote for is either Bloods or Crips, but you couldn't.
And that comes into a greater actual conversation about how the debates are run in this country.
Mm-hmm.
How that everyone wants to say red versus blue, but actually red and blue work together, make these debates so it has to be through them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Let's have a real conversation here. These debates are funded by the Republican and the Democratic Party, not just one or the other, both of them, where their candidates get represented. And you have to meet such a insane percentile on a national stage to get a voice on these debate stages if you're an independent. And that's
And everything that they're doing and everything that they're saying when they get asked a policy question is appeal to your emotions.
exactly. And that's, Republicans will appeal like anti-communism, anti-socialism. Democrats like free shit for everyone. Like there's got to be a happy medium that we can reach. And there's some things I liked in his plan, and I don't want to speak out of turn, but there were some things I did like. Do I believe necessarily in free college? Not really, because me and you actually differ on this. I think when you sign up for a loan, you should kind of know what you're getting into, and maybe that's
Two different conversations. I got to stop you, Paul. That's two different conversations. Free college versus the loan you took out. What they're trying to say is they're not going to charge you in the first place. You're not going to take out a loan to be educated in the first place.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm conflating that with
with the whole forgiveness thing.
Yeah, college loan forgiveness.
Right.
No, free education. Now, I don't know feasibly if we could kept that up. I don't have the numbers in front of me. I'm not an economist.
I think that we could if we stop funding weapons of war. And the thing is, we're not even talking about weapons of war. We're not even talking about that. What we're doing is we're trying to keep the Northrop Grumman. We're trying to keep the Boeing. We're trying to all of these entities that are publicly traded that are on defense, and you keep trying to prop up their stock price because that's really what it's about. Yeah. Because the technology is going to do what it does. Scientists are always going to make things more efficient and improve the technology, right? But the fact that they keep pumping government money into war, whether we're in peacetime or not, to keep the stock price up, right? If we diverted just a fraction of that money, it would pay for that. So the numbers are there. And here's another thing too that a lot of people don't think about, right? Right now, people are very upset about petty crime, right? The shoplifting. Oh my God, New York, San Francisco. Oh, the shoplifting. They had to close the Rite Aid. They had to close this store. There's so much, right? One of the things that there is a strong correlation with is that a very educated population is a less violent population. It's a more productive population. So a lot of people are thinking, well, free school means that just anybody can get educated. But what do you get when you invest in society that way? Because if you look in a lot of the suburbs, right, you notice that the crime rates are not really crazy like that. Because most people have been educated enough to understand that you can do more with communication and policy than you can do with force.
Yeah.
Right. So, a lot of people are thinking, well, if everybody went to college and got intelligent, yes, there is going to be a downfall of that. If you get more qualified people, you're going to drive down wages across the board. That is a problem. Right. However, if you have people who are more educated and more imaginative and more productive, and that's what they are putting their brain power into, then there are other societal benefits that we don't think are tied to those things. But if you look at the numbers, if you look at all of the statistics, the people who do the best in these areas of life tend to also have those benefits bleed over into other areas of life.
So what I'll say with this is regarding, let's just have the conversation regarding free colleges. If we're going to do that, right, let's just say hypothetically we do this in this world, I think there also should be more of an emphasis on free trade schools as well, right? Because
we got to stop shaming people for being an electrician or a carpenter. We got to stop that.
Me and Eva had a dope conversation about this, and let's just talk about it.
Our best conversations happen off the show, which is a fucking travesty.
It's unfortunate, but I think that because how people were pushing degrees on people, bachelor degrees, and like, oh, if you don't go to college, you're going to be worthless. You don't want to be like that plumber, that carpenter, oh, that dirty electrician. You want to be a plumber?
Blue collar?
But it's just like absolute like looking down on it. Whereas like a guy that could go into plumbing, go into electrician work, go into like whatever, carpentry, woodworking, that guy, right? He goes out, does a 2-year program, far less debt, and guess what? He makes maybe 50, 60, his first year out of
Mm-hmm.
college, or sorry,
Mm-hmm.
out of trade school, where you'll have these people go for like communication degrees or dance, liberal arts, and like these
Right.
prestigious college universities, you know, paying about 6 figures. So you're already like 6 figures in debt. And guess what? Starbucks barista, motherfucker! Like, enjoy the debt. It doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? Like, everyone's like, people wanted to make it like that person who got a liberal arts degree has more value than this fucking plumber who makes double their money, if not triple in some cases. And it seemed like it was so cool to just knock down the blue collar jobs and make it seem like they're less intelligent people. Like, no, maybe that's just something they're extremely good at. And this is something.
Yeah, that's how their intelligence. That's how
And
their
that's how their
intelligence is
intelligence
applied.
works. Because
Right.
this is my thing, right? We always say like, oh, well, like this, they didn't do this well, so they're a fucking idiot. I'm like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
well, you might be able to do accounting really well, but you don't know how to change a fucking tire. So in the realm of mechanics
Guilty as
and
charged.
engineering, you're a retard to people, right? Like if you
Right.
don't use that counter logic, it's stupid. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like everyone has skills. And this is actually something we also agreed on. I believe there's something out there for everyone. I'm not saying everyone has the IQ of fucking, I don't know, Elon Musk or Einstein, whatever, right? But there's
Mm-hmm.
always going to be something that I believe people can be trained in, because when I worked at a shipyard, I started out as an assistant, right? And then I worked my way up to a mechanic. I went from when I worked at an oil farm, an oil factory, essentially, I went from being a helping hand in 4 months, and then in 4 months being a supervisor running the oil farm, right? So it's
Mm-hmm.
like you can learn these skills. You can be extremely like, it's just teachable assets. So I just don't like seeing like that. I feel like that big insulting of the skills or the trades that needs to stop, because those
Well,
people are the background.
Well,
The backbone.
I want to add on because I think that Jimmy Dean is a little bit misguided here. Cap, I understand your frustration, but it's just an economics game. Supply and demand of plumbers will dictate how many there are. That is not the case. In fact, the average age of a plumber, I think right now is like 54 years old.
Yeah, there's not.
The average age is nearing retirement age. Why? Because the perception of the job is that you're less of a modern man, a Renaissance man, or a learned man, or a sophisticated man. You're going to struggle to find good wives, pretty wives, if you do blue collar work, because they are considered to be less intelligent.
Yep.
And they have like a lower earning ceiling than a guy in a suit. So a lot of women are looking for the men in a suit. So you are running out of plumbers. And then what's going to happen is, because of supply and demand, is not going to dictate how many plumbers there are, but how expensive the remaining plumbers will be.
And I'm going to piggyback off this because I know this for a fact, because I have friends in these trades. In certain areas, man, it's very, very difficult to find someone like 30s and younger that have done these trades.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's a lot less. And that's why I'm like, I encourage people go into the trades, and like people are like, well, there's more plumbers, that lessens down the price. No, that's not how it works.
Mm-hmm.
If you are a master plumber, right? You are one of the best in your field. You have all the licensing. You're going to make good money because your skill set on complex projects is required. Now, if you want to take on some apprentice who just figuring shit out and maybe it works, yeah, maybe you can get cheaper work. But it's, I'll correlate it to my industry, actually, right? Is that, you could say, oh, if there was more mates and more masters and all this stuff, who would put down demand. Like, no, that's not really how it works. You know how many people have come into my industry? How many more people? If anything, our wages have gone up because it's become more competitive. Companies want the best of the best. That's how it works. And you know what?
But sometimes the best of the best is the person that can actually stay on the boat without throwing up 14 times and, gets up and does all of the hard work and knows the right moves to make on the boat.
Exactly.
there's more to it than just the best of the best. It is who is left to do the work that's willing to do the work.
Right. And that's true, because one of the best qualities is availability and just willing to be there and willing to fucking put in the work. And I just, like I said, I just think we need to have more emphasis on not, demonizing these trades. And Jimmy, I do see your last comment about lowering the bar.
Let's address Jimmy Dean. He says, so let it play out. When old plumbers retire, the wages of existing plumbers go up. The trade becomes more attractive. Yes and no, because there's still a lag as far as public perception. The way men are very incentive driven.
Yeah.
Right. So if you think that you have a better chance at getting a hotter, younger wife with a blue collar job, you're going to go for the blue collar job. If you think your chances are better with a white collar job, you're going to go with the white collar job. What is the hottest thing right now? It is the tech. It's investing. It's finance. Right. Those are the ones where, you hear about the guys making several $100,000 a year, the bankers, all of those guys. Right. Those are the guys that you hear about with the $1,000 suits, the several $1,000 suits. Those are the guys, with the Ferragamo shoes. Those are the guys, with the expensive, hair product, right? They're the ones looking, all coiffed and, and all suave, right? Yep. Their hands are clean, right? And then women are looking at them like, oh, let's go, right?
Yep.
So there's a little bit of a lag. And right now, blue collar workers are mostly invisible to women. And it's unfortunate because those are the guys that keep society going. But we don't notice any of these guys, right? He says plumbers and welders would never be shamed of its existence. The numbers say otherwise. The average plumber is 10 years away from retirement right now. Well, and the perception of it, not only in greater society, but strictly in the dating sphere, right now, the women who know to get a blue collar man. But most women are looking at either the rappers, the athletes, the singers, the politicians, the CEOs. Those are the guys that they're looking at because those are the ones that are sold to them as being the most secularly successful, right? He also says there's also a lot of barriers to entry set by governmental standards. The government wants more plumbers, they lower the bar. If they want fewer, they raise the bar to entry, and that's really not true.
Well, I also got to touch upon this because I know there's tests and stuff you have to take. So I disagree with this logic because, in my opinion, you need experience to be considered. It goes from, I think it's apprentice, journeyman, and then to master, I believe. Mm-hmm. So I might be confused now with electrician, but it's around a similar path, right? So like that be me like, oh, I graduate. Well, I don't need real much NEC time, so I can get my captain's license immediately. You need to go through the proper channels and have the proper amount of work to get. The reason why these level of state level expectations are a little bit difficult and you have to take tests is because you need to know what you're doing. Now,
right.
If you want to have a conversation about maybe bringing down like the cost of some of these tests, we can have that. But I don't believe in lessening the quality just so you get more people in, because then you're not going to get as good of a product, right?
Right, but I don't even think that is the thing. That's not even a thing. Like the government is not raising and lowering electrical standards. That happens inside the industry where they decide what, whoever is administering the certification process and the licensing process. Those are the people that determine whether you're proficient enough to act in a professional capacity. Jimmy Dean also says, but people are going into day trading in Silicon Valley because of the money they can make. And what does money translate to for men? For men, what does attaining more money, what does that translate to? A higher status. What does a higher status translate to? A better chance of getting a more attractive woman or women.
So
And that is one of the quiet ways that the trades are shamed. Why? Because the women are not flocking to the plumber or the electrician or the carpenter. The women are flocking to the finance bros. They're flocking, to people talking about NFTs. They're flocking to people who are coding. Those are the people that they're flocking towards.
Well, and
so that is like silent shaming, in that the preferences of women are kind of directing where men are throwing their efforts.
And it is kind of funny because in a lot of cases, a lot of these, like, how do I put this, CEOs or something, they live a fake lifestyle, right? Like, cause I know
Right.
I'm not gonna name them,
but they get the pussy though. But they get the pussy though
off of fake lifestyle,
right?
Where I know plumbers. And I know an electrician for sure that makes
way more money, right?
$100,000 more per year than he does. So
right.
It's like, we gotta really take things in perspective and not get rid of that negative connotation and that shame regarding it. Because you know what, man, if you can start out with a trade making around 50, 60 a year,
Yep.
and then you can build your block off that and keep succeeding. Can't complain, man. You honestly can't complain. I started out with a smaller tugboat company operation to get more sea time, get more licensing and stuff like that. And now I'm making 6 figures, bro. Like, you start from somewhere. And I think that, we need women, we need people in general, actually, just to take a step back and, like, there's building blocks to this shit.
Yeah.
There is. And that's where I feel like we lose it. It's like, okay, like, I just want to get that entrepreneur who's, like, living fake floor style, you're getting fake airplanes to take pictures in and shit.
Right.
It's just, it is comical in a way. But actually, by the way, I just want to say quick, Jimmy D, man, thanks for all the not questions, but all the statements, man. It's like, I actually highly enjoy that, man. I appreciate, Xenon, all of you guys, Seditionalists, coming out to these streams, man, because like these, this actually kind of keeps the conversation going. And I kind of want to touch on one thing. This is off the top of my head, and I apologize for this. We didn't prep for this, but I had an interesting conversation with a buddy of mine that grew up in Chicago. He never read, like, Malcolm X's book. Like,
Salute from Jimmy Dean.
Oh yeah. Malcolm X autobiography. Like, pretty popular. I forget the exact name of it off the top of my head, but he showed it on his Facebook saying, "Oh, well, I wish they taught this in schools." And maybe this is just me. I want to talk to you about this. I read, like, a lot of things people said they didn't read in school or didn't learn. Like I learned in school that Christopher Columbus didn't discover America. Like, I knew he went to the islands.
He violated America.
Right. He didn't come to the he didn't come to North America.
In order to discover a place, you got to be the first person there.
Yeah.
And it was clear that he wasn't.
And then also, like, with Malcolm X and stuff like that, I was taught all this in school. Now, I'll fully admit, I was private school my whole life. So maybe that has something to play into it. But where was your education like? Like, is there certain things you see online, people talking about, like, oh shit, I wish they taught to me in this school? Or, like, do you feel like the education system in New York was pretty good? Do you think it kind of covered enough topics? Do you think?
Yeah, I mean, this definitely gets way off the topic, or way off our topic. So I'll just kind of leave it one statement, and then we'll go to the next and last segment.
Yeah.
I will say that they taught a lot of things that even at the time it was obvious was absolutely fucking useless. Because the thing is, like, there are certain forms of mathematics that the average person will not use. And some of that math, some of that science should be reserved more for the kids going in that direction, into the sciences, into STEM, right? And what I mean by in the STEM, I mean their type of STEM, right? I should not have to do earth science if I'm going to go code or something like that. Like that's I need to know the computer science, and that's really where I think the focus should be. We're not taught how to do taxes, but if you don't do them right, you go to prison, or they're garnishing your checks and all this kind of stuff, right? So I think that I think that the school system as it is looking to spit out automatons. But I gave a lot of my opinions on iDryB Live 2 Sundays ago, so you guys could check that out over on Lutch's channel. But to kind of tie things back together, we're going to get into this here. We talked about, what's possible, what isn't possible, depending on how people addressed the subject. Mm-hmm. But, we would be remiss if we did not, really drive this point home by, not just talking the shit, but also demonstrating our shit. Mm-hmm. And how do we maintain our friendship? And that would be myself. That would be Captain Paul. How do we maintain our friendship? Because there are things that we agree on to varying degrees. Sometimes, not a full agreement, sometimes a partial agreement, sometimes a full agreement, sometimes abject opposition, right? But we maintain a very high opinion of the other. How, if in your view, how do you think? What do you think that we do that is effective in making sure that myself, a city dwelling colored man, mm-hmm. Colored meaning I'm mixed race, mostly black, right? Mm. And you're a white guy from the suburbs who went to private school. I went to, the worst public schools in the city, right? We have very different upbringings, but yet we maintain the proper respect for each other. In your view, what is it that we're doing that allows us to maintain this bond in a healthy way?
I think there's a few things, but I think what first comes to my mind is respect. There's a mutual respect there with each other, and there's always a level of respect we treat, even when we're busting each other up, being, savage dickheads or whatever, we have a mutual respect for each other. Another thing I'll say is that we do have a good line of communication, and neither of us get really offended if we disagree with one another. We're not quick to anger regarding a conversation of a serious topic. We'll sit there, listen, and contemplate. But honestly, I think probably the most important part for me, at least for you, is I think you're a very good-hearted dude, very kind dude. You're actually the most genuine dude I've really met through a YouTube platform, because I've met some people in this that, portray themselves a certain way, and then they're completely different when you actually meet them, or you even have some conversations with them. And you just find out they're there to use you or in some shape, form, or another. And that's actually one of the reasons, not the main reason, but one of the reasons I got tired of making my own YouTube content. But I think, you generally want what's best for people. I do the same. And it might be a different way of doing it, but I think that's one of the reasons why we get along so well, is because regardless of our viewpoints on certain things, is I do believe at our heart of hearts that we're good people, or that, you're a good person. I can't really define myself. And that, we want people to do well in life. And I think, like I said, respect, respect, communication. I think the good-natured being of you is what I think maintains our strong friendship.
It's so weird. I feel like this is like the Twilight Zone or the Outer Limits, because I sat here when I was framing the question, and I kind of knew where I wanted to go, but you hit almost every point that I wanted to make, but in reverse, right? I think the first thing for me is that I enter into communication with others with the assumption that they didn't wake up and say, I want to be a douchebag today.
Yeah.
I don't think that people wake up and say, you know what, I want to be the worst person I can be. I think that a lot of people want to be the best versions of themselves. Some may not know how to get there. Some may believe that they're going in the right direction based upon the things that they were taught, either by doctrine from their parents or schooling or religious institution, or by experiences, right? So I like to operate from the base position that people want to be good. They want to do the right thing. They have a code that they want to live by. That's the first thing, right? So that allows me to hear what you're saying and listen so that I can understand where it is that you're coming from. Because even if I don't agree with you, I'm learning a lot about you, because nobody comes up with an opinion in a vacuum.
No.
There are certain experiences or observations that one is exposed to over a lifetime that informs their worldview. So I understand that the white man in rural Indiana is not my enemy. Everything that he has seen and heard about people that look like me normally come from external sources, right? And in the situations where they may have had an experience with a Black person, their expectation that something bad was going to happen could have caused something bad to happen. And then it reaffirms their belief. And they say, well, this happened to me. I was robbed by so-and-so, right?
Right.
So when you actually talk to them and say, well, I'm not the person that robbed you, and I'm looking to have an open dialogue with you so I can understand you better. This is not about calling you names or branding you or anything like that, right? I want to understand who you are. And then from there, I can say, well, your experiences were like this, or your observations were like that. So that leads you to this conclusion. Well, I'm here now. And now we're going to have a different experience. And then when you add this experience to all your other experiences, if you are entering into these discussions in good faith, then now we're somewhere. Now we're getting somewhere. Right. And so just for me starting from the baseline of, I believe that either you are a good person or you're striving to be a good person, then that allows me to humanize you.
Yeah.
That allows me to then look at you as somebody who really isn't that different than myself. Right? Now I can identify with you on a shared level. So now we're not thinking about how much different that other guy is, because in reality, we're more alike than we are different, right? That white man in rural Indiana probably likes to be treated by women the same way I like to be treated by women, right? He probably likes to see athletes with a certain work ethic, right? He like when we watch UFC fights, he probably likes to see people with a certain approach to that. When he goes to work, he probably has a similar pride in his work that I do, even though we do two totally different things. But he may have a lot of pride in the way that he does his work, the way he earns his money, where he stands in his community. And then you start to see, whoa, we're not that different. And even when you see the liberals and the conservatives, and they're saying and doing things, that seem ideologically opposed, their methodology for getting to their conclusion is the same. and their tactics when they express themselves are the same. And if you dig deep enough, you'll find that even on a lot of these subjects where they claim to be opposed, they are mostly aligned.
Yep.
They're just going at each other on the minutia. Right?
Right.
So I operate from there first. So when I'm talking about my friendship with you, there is always going to be situations where you'll say something and it'll trigger a visceral response. And I say to myself, well, this opinion did not come in a vacuum. He didn't just decide this. Let me find out more. Right. And then from your vantage point, I then say, oh, okay, I can see how you got there, but have you considered this?
Yeah.
Have you also considered this factor? Right? Because a lot of times when we say, well, like when we talked about the student loan thing, right? Oh, they should just make smarter decisions. Well, have you considered that they're pushing a lot of these loans on children?
Right. And we had a really good conversation, and I think we kind of came to a mutual understanding.
Yeah. And so, like, the way I see it is I think that you want the best for people. I think that you go to work, you work really hard. Like you said, you maintain a healthy relationship with your lady Lauda, and she's, you consider her to be more liberal than yourself, right? But the thing is that you are a man and a woman who are building a life together and are working together for the betterment of each other.
Exactly.
Right. And I think that one of the things that we've lost sight of in this country is that we were supposed to be Americans. Right. If you remember, like the Rocky movies, and, you know, first you had Clubber Lang and there was sort of a racial issue there. Right.
Yeah.
But, you know, when Ivan Drago came, right, and killed Apollo Creed, now all of America comes. We found a common theme.
Yeah.
To then unite.
Exactly.
But does it have to be a negative thing? Does it need to be George Floyd being murdered? Does it need to be, you know, name the negative?
Yeah.
Name the negative, right? Does it need to be these things? And I don't think that, I think that, I'm glad that you and I have the friendship that we have, but I don't believe that it was necessary for it to be built on, you know, the death of Call of Duty or the death of George Floyd, or the deaths of those guys that Kyle Rittenhouse killed.
Yeah.
Right. We don't need to build bonds on these things.
No.
I think that we can. Yeah, I think that we come from a place that is honest and true. Yeah. And we expect that the person that we're talking to is coming from a place of honesty and trueness, authenticity. And that's why, you know, I've even said to people, I can date a white woman who's racist against black people. I can. Because I believe that if we are reasonable people and we listen to each other, we can find out how people got to the opinions they have. We can find out how, and then we can make differences in each other's lives. You know?
I agree.
And the thing is that it makes it easier to talk about politics when we've built friendships on a firm basis. What did I tell you about fitness earlier today during our session?
It's a marathon.
Fitness is an allegory for life. There are principles in physical fitness that when you apply them to other areas of your life, you will see great benefit. And you can try to lift the heaviest weight, but if you're not built on a foundation, a firm foundation of stability, hypertrophy, if you're not building it on those things in layers, then your strength, you're not really strong.
Yeah.
Right? Something bad is going to end up happening because you're operating from a shaky base. right? And you can already tell, like, even right now, you're learning how to stand and sit up.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Doing shit.
And it doesn't, and it sounds ridiculous, but in the end, you start to understand that these principles of fitness, they can be used to your benefit in all areas of life. And this is what I.B. is talking about. We need to build bonds outside of politics so that friendships can withstand the strain of political differences. And the thing is, again and again, most people's political differences are over the minutia. Yeah. Everybody wants the American economy to be better, but we think that one way is a slightly better way than the other way, right? But we all want the economy to thrive. We want our fellow Americans to thrive. We all want crime to go down. We all want poverty to go down, unless, you know, you're Jeff Bezos and you want poverty to go up. But for the most part, even most rich people want to see a healthy middle class in America because, you know, that's a healthy consumer base, right? So I think it's important for us to demonstrate to other people. Is one thing to say, yo, you know, can liberal and conservatives get along? It's one thing to say it's possible this or that. But it's more important for us to show it by example. And that's one of the things that I'm really excited about with this platform that we've created.
Yeah.
And I think that we're kind of leading the way in our own community and saying, yo, Dr. Evil's a little bit to the left on some things, socially conservative on most things, fiscally kind of in the middle, right? And I may not agree with everything that you believe, but I understand where it comes from.
Yeah.
And it's not a place of malice. You're not looking for bad things to happen to people that don't look like you, right? You just want to show people, hey, I've worked hard to get where I'm at. If you just put the work in, you don't even really need to be talented. Just put the work in. I'm pretty sure that your natural talent isn't on the boat. Your natural talent is on the ice. Yeah. Right? But if you work hard and you grind and you grind and you grind, then, you know, there's so much that you can accomplish, right?
Exactly.
I.B. says, when politics becomes your identity, and this is one of the things that grinds my gears, but I agree with this so much. When politics becomes your identity, you cannot benefit from anything else in life, because politics is inherently confrontational and essentially a zero-sum game. I'm going to push back on that second part, though. Politics is only a zero-sum game because we've allowed it to be. It's kind of like when I hear people talk about relationships with the opposite sex. Relationships are hard and they're difficult, and love hurts. Love only hurts if you allow it. The love that I've gotten over the years, that doesn't hurt at all, because of the way that I approach it. I choose to make it uncomplicated. I choose to make it straightforward. When I talk to my ladies, it is my choice to interact with them in a way that they know that they are respected at the very least and loved at the most.
Exactly.
I don't have to be right. I don't have to dominate everything. The only thing I have to do is look out for myself first, and then have them be very close seconds. Love does not have to hurt. It does not have to be complicated. And I prove that every fucking day.
Same. Just it can be very simple, man. Just making dinner, doing something simple, fucking, you know, just showing care for one another and making just some effort. And
that's all it is, right? Isn't that what it comes back to? Isn't that not what we discussed at 10:45 this morning?
Yep.
That's what we discussed, right? Effort. And I think that one of the things that helps me in a lot of my friendships and why they last so long is that I'm not so wrapped up in the fucking outcomes. I want to see the effort. Do you give a fuck?
Yeah.
If you give a fuck about yourself, if you give a fuck about our bond and you're just trying to make the effort, then we can survive anything. You know? iDrive B says, gotta run. Wish I could send a super chat, but wanted to pop in, give a little engagement and a like. Love the platform. Look forward to hopping on Saturday. Yeah, we got Filthy Casual MMA watch party on Saturday. We're not guaranteed to have Captain Paul.
Up in the air.
Captain Paul is rejuvenated. Captain Paul is like, yo, if I can show up to work after work and I can get a good signal,
yeah,
I'm gonna do it. Isn't that right, Paul?
That's right. But I will say, I have been following a new bedtime. So if I got sleepy, I gotta go. I'm trying to do New Leaf here. So you know what? It gets a little late. Grandpa Paul's going to fucking bed. So dude, I'm looking forward to it. You know, hopefully it's good signal. And also, I'll say this really quick: is we have a bunch of stuff I've actually recorded. And we have more stuff, me and Evil, that we're going to be doing. So definitely stay tuned for the channel. We have a lot of content coming, man. A ton. And I think this is going to be an exciting time for the channel. And I really want to thank for all the new subscribers and all the I can't even speak. I'm fucking tired. All of the people that always return, the return watchers like Jimmy Dean, Seditionalist, Xeon, and you know what? I'll say podcast Jesus as well now. That's what it is, bro. Listen, he was spitting gospel. He's speaking up to his name. He's podcast Jesus. Please change your game.
What if Jesus was 5'4" and but what if he is the second coming?
I mean, bro, like, to be fair, like that's probably what Jesus would look like. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm gonna make a painting of him, put him in my
Jesus' hair is longer than he is tall.
That's true. You know what I mean? But I think I'll just say this. If I had a painting of Lutch in my room with robes on, people think he's Jesus. So I think it's going to work. You know what I mean? So definitely check out his channel. Some good content over there. And I'm looking forward to having him on the channel on Saturday.
Yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully we get Anna Rude and some of the other guys in our little Twitter DM group thing that they got going on. This actually went about twice as long as we were anticipating, but I think that we covered a lot of really great things. I want to thank everybody that participated in today's show, and of course, I want to make sure that we do a little bit of the housekeeping. If you guys want to see us be monetized so that we can do the super chat thing, please. If you have yet to subscribe, please subscribe on YouTube using the wonderful link that the lady Mrs. Evil created for us on Bitly, bit.ly/TALKIN_SHT. Follow us on Narsagram, Twitter, and Twitch. If you have not already done so, please follow us over there at TALKIN_SH_T. If you have any ideas or if you have any stories that you want us to cover here on the podcast or in a video, please hit us up at the Talking Shit Podcast LLC, Talking Shit Podcast LLC at gmail.com. This has been a wonderful episode number 35. And I want to thank all of you for participating and helping us build this community. And until the next time, we are the fuck up out of here. Peace.